Hey everyone, and welcome to a new format on the channel called Draw Chats. Draw Chats will be speed drawing videos that I narrate over and just share general thoughts I have on more casual or personal topics that I've been thinking about. But if you just want to mute the video and see me get straight to drawing, then that's totally fine too. And you can skip to this time code. So for this video, I want to draw some girls from some Japanese fashion magazine scans that I found on this Twitter account. And I'll put all the tools that I'll be using in the description below. So without further ado, let's get started. So today I wanted to talk about making art in a turbulent world. So, 2020, huh? Yeah, I think everyone has had their fair share of difficulties during this year. It's really taking a number on everyone, like mentally, with having to isolate and the protests and everything. And I think that right now, as an artist, I've not only had to re-examine the place that my art has in the world, but also just getting the motivation to make it in the first place. Which, I'll say up front, is a very privileged thing to be concerned about right now. I really do understand that many people have it so much worse. But even acknowledging all of that didn't just make that uncertainty go away. So I wanted to go a little bit more in depth with that and talk about how I was able to lift myself up a bit from there. I think starting from the end of May, I had hit major burnout. And not even just with art, but life in general. It was really hard to work on my own personal projects, and I could only really finish the art and animation that I'd signed up to do previously, and had a sort of obligation, not only to myself, but to others to finish. Other than that, I was mainly trying and failing to draw successfully in between long naps and hours-long scrolling on Twitter. That was basically what all of June looked like for me. Wake up, shower, eat, try to draw, get frustrated, go on Twitter, nap, rinse, and repeat. It was pretty bad. And I think some of the perfectionism and overworking that I did during the last semester of school to sort of force an expectation of myself pushed this competition between the person that I was in June and the person that existed back in March. But that was really unfair. And as far as I was concerned, we were two radically different people with radically different awareness and exhaustion of the world. But even outside of that, it's still really unfair to push yourself like that, especially during a time of mental and emotional fatigue. I think what I really needed during that time wasn't to be overly critical about myself. What I needed was a break, a month-long one. So I had to listen to my body and mind, and I took one. And after a month, I really needed a spark. I felt like I was ready to reawaken my creative energy. I felt like it was the right time to try the drawing thing again, but I needed something that I could have a sense of control over. And at the end of the day, that spark was just oh wait, I still have to work on my thesis. And that was it. I needed to work on my thesis film, and I was determined to put something out in May that I now would be really proud to call my own. I sometimes wish it was something cooler that woke me up, like a divine call to create something that God himself would weep over. But, you gotta take your inspiration where you can find it, and you just have to go from there. Even though I had gotten that spark reignited, I just couldn't snap back to drawing for long stretches of time, just like that. I think sometimes that drawing requires a bit of, I'll call it strength training. Before you can do these long marathon drawing sessions, and even then, you really have to learn to take breaks in between so as not to overexert yourself, and that's something that I'm still getting better at. So now I'm going to start getting into some of the things that helped me during this time, and I want to preface this by saying that I'm not giving professional advice. These are just things that I found useful. I think what really helped me get back on track, and what will probably help some of you guys too, is the Pomodoro technique. The Pomodoro technique is where you use a timer to break down the time you work into 25-minute intervals with short breaks in between. The breaks get longer every 4 Pomodoros you do. I had never tried this method before, but it was really what I needed at the time to do short bursts of work and build my drawing stamina rather than just going at it for long periods of time with 0 drawings under my belt. This technique also isn't set in stone. Well, for me it isn't. I tend to take a very flexible approach, and over time I started increasing the intervals from 25 minutes to 45 minutes and adjusted the breaks accordingly. So I really recommend that you guys find an interval that works for you. I've also been thinking about using an app to write out tasks for the day and checking them off as I do them, because just putting those little ticks or check marks is just, well, instant dopamine hit. It sometimes feels better than finishing the actual task. I actually used a spreadsheet while I was animating my spring semester film, which you can watch here, and it was really helpful and satisfying to change the box colors from red, or incomplete, to green, or complete, once I finished each scene. So, from my personal experience, I can recommend using spreadsheets as well, because I find them really helpful, and I'll definitely be utilizing them in the near future for my thesis film. But I don't think you have to wait around for inspiration to hit you before you start planning ahead. I think what really helped get some of the creative energies flowing was doing occasional studies. Studies of bodies, hands, feet, etc., as well as life drawing. I didn't really have to think about what to draw, which really helped because what I needed to draw was right in front of me. I didn't need to imagine or come up with something, and it really helped me strengthen my technical skills. And I didn't come back to series drawing completely forgetting how to because of the observational studies that I'd done. I think doing studies is something that every artist should do, regardless, but it really helps in this situation. This is a non-exhaustive list. This was just something off the top of my head that helped me during this time. So I want to circle back to the nagging thought of what place my art, or anyone else's art, has in this weird world. I was talking a bit about the physical ways to get back to making art, but not so much about the mental and emotional ways to repair yourself. And I think that questioning what role your art has is important for the emotional side of things, and everyone has their own personal answer to it. My response to it definitely is not the definitive version, but the way that I see it, everyone's work has a place. You might not be able to see it now, and it might not be reaching the right audience right now, but it could eventually. And I think that during a time where there are a lot of high emotions, sad emotions, angry emotions, it's important to make things that can speak to those feelings and that people will really appreciate and react to once they see it. And if anyone finds something about my work that brings comfort or joy during this time, then that's enough for me to keep creating for now. And that's what really helped me get out of that funk. And of course, it's super important to have hobbies and interests outside of just drawing. Some things that I like to do are making music with my ukulele or kalimba, watching TVs or movies, writing poetry, etc. I really think that taking breaks from drawing and getting so frustrated with drawing can be really refreshing once you come back to it with a lot of brand new ideas and inspiration. And it'll really inspire some work when you get back to it. I can tell you that with the sort of animated music videos I did earlier, it started off with a song and then the art and the illustration came after that. I also wanted to end this topic by saying that even if you do get into a good groove, that productivity won't last forever. It's not supposed to. It's normal, and that's more than okay. I think the late stage capitalism hellhole that we are in pushes this rise and grind culture of always making your best work at all times, and even when the world is on fire. But we don't have to be art-making robots. I mean, we shouldn't be, at least. We have to rest every now and again. We're human beings, organic bodies. Sometimes it's nice to sit down and relax. The world is always changing, for better or worse, and it will take time for us to adjust. That's just a fact. And that's okay. Turbulent times or not, it's always good to develop helpful tools and practices to be creative without constantly burning out, and that's really important. It's really important that we don't overexert ourselves, because sometimes we can hurt ourselves physically with carpal tunnel, and it'll be hard to draw for the rest of your life. Alright, so I think it's time to bring this video to a close. Thank you so much for hanging out with me as I ramble and draw. All the finished illustrations I made during this draw chat session will be up on my Instagram and Twitter for you to see. So make sure you're following me there. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to like and subscribe and stick around for the next one. I'm still figuring out my upload schedule, but I hope to see you all very soon. Bye!